Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, he's a good interviewer. He's, I think it's tested that he's highly educated and he's just really good at what he does too. No problem. We'll start shortly. I have to be kind of quick. Hold on. Let me bring my mic up. Uh, so I have to be kind of quick because I have an exam tomorrow and I have to write an essay for it. And I'm not sure if I'm not going to do it or not tonight because, I spend a lot of time on them. And today my instructor says my essays are too good. So he figures I must be cheating somehow. And it's like, dude. He's like, yeah. He's like, it's better than your essays are better than everything else you do. And it's like, thank you. He says, better than native people do in Japan. So it's like, I mean, at first I was really happy, but then it was like, oh no, this is interference. And I should have been like, wow, most people in Japan don't know Noriko either. But when you're being grilled and accused of stuff, you don't know what to say. Anyway, kind of weird. At one at just for a year, and that doesn't make you better than everyone. But even still, I mean, it's still like, I write well in English too, and the principles are kind of the same. Like when you write an essay in Japanese, it's a little different. Like the structure is a little different, but it's like it's the same principle. And I had a really good writing teacher in English named Aaron Sanders. Aaron Joseph Sanders, who's published. He's done all this really cool books and things, and and it's the same principles. It's you that professional writers don't really pay attention to. Um, one is don't use too many adjectives. If you do, use one or two, and don't use them over again. Don't make your sentences too long, which a lot of writers don't think about. Like if anyone's read The Shores of Eternity, like I have sentences that are 2 words, and it comes out really cool. I think. Like the guy who was someone who edited it is like, okay, that's a sentence, I guess, but you only want to write what's necessary because, like, no one has who's ever read a book has the whole thing memorized, right? Unless you're from Socrates' time, and that's what they used to do. There was no writing; they memorized everything. But that's not the point. Like the point is that the principles are the same. Don't use too many adjectives. And like the one thing I've noticed I don't like about um, Japanese essayists is that they over explain things. They over explain everything. Like people will take like this, and the people do it. That happens in English too, right? So I'm not being accusing anyone of that, but they take something that's like this. They take something like they explain something like that's like this long, which can be explained like in this short of a way, and it just overcomplicates things, and you don't know what to pay attention to. So, I mean, I use that principle in my writing, whatever I'm writing, and I guess it comes out good. If you could use terms and expressions to explain a complex topic, that works. But you don't use it more than once. Um, yeah. Anyway, but that's basically a trick. Don't make sentences too long. Don't repeat words, and use expressions when you can. And don't over-explain. If the idea is to put something in as little words as possible, because when you do that, it's easier to understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's what I have. That's what happens. Like if something's too long, like when I'm finished going over something, it's usually too long. I don't add stuff more in just to have more content. I cut, 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 cut. Even if something's a good point, it's still too much, and because it's too much, it's just it just has a chance of losing the reader. So, but apparently, I may have cheated or used Chat GPT, which I don't, which is very bad at Japanese anyway, by the way. It makes a lot of errors. So, anyway, no comment, anyone? We are going to do healing tonight, a quick one. I have to study this. So he's like, you have to come to the office and write an essay. I'm like, okay. I'm like, eel. There's an eel. kids, like, forgive me for not remembering to be polite while I'm being accused of not being able to write like an adult. So, what do you mean up my game? Apparently, it's already too high. I mean, perhaps one day, everyone will realize that, yeah, I'm her vessel, and she chose me, and they'll have more respect. So, you'll probably only hear me say that once, or perhaps twice if things ever get bad, which they will be. Um, um, oh no, that's not happening. That's not happening, Chris. Anyway, yes, I was my professor. Maybe my essays are too good. It's like if they're this good, we have to put you in the top level. Just like you're too good for this class. It's like I didn't know how to respond to that. And it's not an easy class, by the way. Hence me being up and probably having to study all night. Yes, you can keep using it, of course. It's an advanced class, which it's a like master's degree class. Like my last teacher was like, you write pretty very well because we actually wrote the essays in class. We didn't do them at home, you know. Anyway, thank you for listening to me. I'll give And then there's the whole interference thing of me always being messed with by things. You know, unfortunately, because Japanese people don't have energetic boundaries for the most part. You know, collectively, it's collective. We're a collectivist society. Um, well, I mean, I'm reading that book by myself, which for class we're doing cooking papa and jinda sakutsu, things like that. But anyway, yeah, the collective, there's no energetic boundaries. So when someone has an intrusive thought, so someone has an intrusive thought, they stick to it and they don't question it. Um, in the past, believe it or not, Japan wasn't so collective. I mean, it was. There was lots of dictatorships, but people still had boundaries. Does that make sense? People had boundaries, and it's just they don't really exist anymore. Like, say, like a woman might get groped in. Exactly. Like, for example, in the past, or like in the modern era, um, a woman or a girl might get groped in the train. And what happens to the perpetrator? Absolutely nothing. And that's for a couple reasons. Not negative influences aside, or influences outside influences aside. Um, the person that is usually won't report it. The police won't do anything, and the person that did it doesn't even think about it because they're messed with anyway. It's not necessarily them doing it. In the past, if even right after the Meiji restoration, if you did that to someone's, like, if you groped someone's like daughter or wife, and it's they probably chop off your head on the spot. Yes, exactly, Spidey. If this, yes. Well, there were problems before, but they're different. But the whole difference is boundaries. You know, and unfortunately, in traditional Shinto thought, there is no adversarial spirits. Everything innately is good and just out of place, but that's not true, as I've taught. Even so, people would they would purify every day or as much as they can. The shrines were used a lot more practically in the past, right? So people were able to build a little bit more sovereignty to the point, even though it's always been kind of collectivist. But like I said, there were still boundaries, and when it comes to energetic boundaries, it's very important. So anyway, you guys ready? Yep, no boundaries anymore. Yeah, and it's like, how can I explain it? So basically, yeah. Um, so like I always say, Shinto treats like mountains and tools and words as living, right? And although maybe most people won't believe that anymore, it still does carry spirit, no matter what they think. So for people, it feels more natural to sense a nudge from beyond the visible because it doesn't have like the Western um, dualism. The Western dualism, like Western dualism, sorry, builds walls between self and other. And on the other side, Shinto loosens them. And because no one knows anything about purification anymore or practices it, outside voices slip in more easily. So, so because of how people read loosened cues, in spiritual terms, you know, that could mean loosen boundaries, which can invite energy that's near to pour through and steer behavior a little bit more, especially when it's in a tight structure. Um, like a school. And again, and also too, traditional communities had like regular misogi, and like I said again, shrine visits, and lots of festival purifications, and those actually resetted personal boundaries too. But like urbanites, like there's none of that. But the cultural openness remains still, and it leaves like the doors open with no guard on watch. And I think that's why people are getting, crazier and crazier, right? But in a different way than in the West. Like depression is one of the things, but there's other. So no resistance to first thoughts. There's no sense of, and again, too. Yeah, most people mix in like shrine prayers and Buddhist graves and pop spirituality, and I want to kind of emphasize that there's no sense of spirit, a sense of conflict. Does that make sense, guys? So there's no that energy stays out anyway. Well, I'm not sure I'm going to do the essay right now. I'm just going to do my other stuff. You guys ready? I was talking about, I don't even know. So if you're new here tonight, you're going to lie down, relax, and breathe. Um, you can hear me speak some Japanese, Norito. It will pay attention to your thoughts and your body. Yes, if you want to use salt. hmm Whenever I talk, people like listen, then they leave when I say we're going to start this. There's always that influx. Is kind of funny. Here we go. Amaterasu Migoya no Kami no Misu Maru no Inochi Terashi Kuni Shizukanari Amaterasu Mi Oya no Kami no Misu Maru no Inochi Terashi Kuni Shizukanari Amaterasu Mi Oya no Kami no Misu Maru no Inochi Terashi Kuni Shizukanari Tsukiyomitsu Mi Oya no Kami no Ikke no Omo Tsuki ni Tsuririte Kagami no Kotoshi Tsukiyomitsu Mi Oya no Kami no Ikke no Omo Tsuki ni Tsuririte Kagami no Kotoshi Taka amahari ni kamazumarimasu. Kamurogi, kamuromi no mikoto moshite. Sumemi, oyekamu, izanagi no kami, tsukushi no, himuku no, tachibana no, oto no, awagigahara ni, misogi, harai, tamaishi, toki ni, aremaseru. Harai to no, o kami tachi, moromoro no maga goto tsumi keirio. Harai tamai, kiyome tamai, domo, sukoto no yoshio. Amatsu kami, kunitsu kami, yao, yorizu no kami tachi domo ni hikoshimasu to, kashikomi, kashikomi, momaosu. Taka amahari ni kamazumarimasu. Kamurogi, kamuromi no mikoto moshite. Sumemi, oyekamu, izanagi no kami, tsukushi no, himuku no, tachibana no, oda no, awagigahara ni, misogi, harai, tamaishi, toki ni, aremaseru. Harai dono, o kami tachi, moromoro no maga goto tsumi keirio. Harai tamai, kiyome tamai, domo, sukoto no yoshio. Amatsu kami, kunitsu kami, yao, yorizu no kami tachi domo ni hikoshimasu to, kashikomi, kashikomi, momaosu. Taka amahari ni kamazumarimasu. Kamurogi, kamuromi no mikoto moshite. すめみ、おやかむ、いずなぎの神尽くしのひまくの立花の大野の青木が春に、急ぎ、払い、たまいし、時に、あれませる。払いどの狼たち、もろもろのまがことつみかいりょ。払いたまい、極めたまいとまおすことのよしよ。あまつ神、日にち神、やるずの神たちともに引っ越しますと。かしこみかしこみもまおす。どうすの神、あまていらします。すめみ神の耳にを、伝えて教え導きの玉枠。人はすなわち、神と神とのもとのあるじたり、何時らの真知の痛ましめることなかれ。この家に目に、もろもろの風情を見て、心にもろもろの風情を見ず、耳にもろもろの風情を聞いて、心にもろもろの風情を聞かず、口にもろもろの風情を言って、心にもろもろの風情を言わず、身にもろもろの風情に触れて、心にもろもろの風情に触れず、心にもろもろの風情を思とも、中心にもろもろの風情を思わず、この時に清く潔きことあり、もろもろののれは影と形のことし、清く清ければ汚れることなし、ことをとらばうべからず、皆花よりずの身とはなる。我が身はすなわち六根少女なり、六根少女なりがゆえに、どうぞの真君兄なり、どうぞの真君兄なるが、ゆえに天地の神と男なり、天地の神と男なるが、ゆえに万物の霊道体なり、万物の霊道体なるが、ゆえになすところにこて成就せずということなし、無常霊法、真珠仏教、天上無教、名誉入賞、考え律、洗いたまい、清めたまい、守りたまい、救いたまい、照らしたまい、導きたまい。 Taka amahari ni kamazamarimasu. Kamarogi, kamaromi no mikoto moshite. Sumemi oyakama. Izanagi no kami, tsukushi no himaki no tachibana no hono no hawakikahara ni misogi, harai, tamaishi, toki ni arimaseru. Harai dono o kami tachi. Moro moro no maga goto tsumi kairi yo. Harai tamai kiyomi tamai to maosu koto no yoshi yo. Amatsukami, Kunitsukami, Yao, Yoruzu no Kami Tachi Domo ni Hikoshi Misato, Kashikomi, Kashikomi, Momoso, Taka Amahari ni Kamazumarimasu, Kamaroki, Kamaromi no Mikoto Moshite, Sumemi Oyakama, Izanagi no Kami, Tsukushi no Himatuka no Tachibana no Hodo no Awigahara ni Misogi, Harai, Tamaishi, Toki ni Arimaseda, Harai dono okami tachi, moro moro no maka koto tsumi kairio. Harai tamai kiyome tamai to masukoto ni yoshio. Amatsu kami, kunitsu kami, yao, yoruzu no kami tachi tomo ni hikoshi masato. Kashikomi, kashikomi, momosa. Kan nagara tamachiyamase. Kan nagara tamachiyamase. Kan nagara tamachiyamase. Okay, everyone, how was that? Good. You're welcome. Good. Mm, it's my karate upbringing, I think, or two. I had a pretty good instructor, although he was quite mean. How was the salt thing, guys? Yeah, I haven't emailed many podcasts lately. I'm too busy. You just basically hold in your hand. It's anchoring tool. And when you get a certain point, things will draw to it, and you'll feel it. Did anyone get it? So yeah, one person felt hot. So yeah. Anyone else? I mean, I do it during that too, Bridget. Mm, That's going to be very stressful, and the prophecies do say that. I think the reason why they're there is to remind me. Um, but no, I'm gonna, the government's gonna watch me. They're gonna make sure I'm not making any money. They're gonna make sure I'm not bringing any profit. I'm just studying. They're going to make sure I am, not working. There's going to be people think it's strange that I'm working without getting any money. Um, especially when they think that there's fraud, they're going to demand that I prove that I do what I can do, which, of course I will. Then there's going to be, the right wing in Japan. They are going to have a lot of problems. Like traditionally, the seat of Amaterasu is only within the imperial house. And although the emperor was forced to, and rightfully so, um, um, denounce his divinity, a lot of people still, they ignore it. It's the right wing. There is lineage there, but it's a little different than what people think. It's more so like Kami being born within that line at different times. However, and there is a connection. However, it's not the same. It's the rituals that they have is spectacle, and as the prophecies say, it's not that. However, there's going to be people who have a problem with it. So, yeah. But it also says I'll get through it. But that doesn't mean it's going to be that fun. Actually, it's not going to be fun. So, I'll get, cult accusations. And I have to do a bunch of things. Like all my books have to be publicly open. My, like any large donations, they have to be looked over. But however, like at first, I'm not going to be able to do, any of that because it'd be considered working. And because it's this, mostly when it's online stuff, they don't really pay, they don't really care, although it's technically legal in Japan. Um, they'll make an exception just because of this and getting some attention. But anyway, I've never been one to give up. They care because there's been problems with, same as America, right? It's just a little bit more shocking in Japan, but there's been problems with spiritual leaders. Um, which is why Christianity hasn't even caught on in Japan, because people actually see in Japan, they actually see Christianity as a cult. And the prime minister getting killed because of that involvement didn't help the idea. Like, because it's Shinto, it's better. Although most people still don't really know what it is. People will defend it, and they'll see it a little differently. But they'll be most worried about me making money or trying to receive it. which I won't because it'll be like this, right? Well, what happened with Prime Minister Abe is the guy who went after him was his grievance was um, his mother donated his entire fortune to the Moonies, which is basically branded as like a Christianity like organization in Japan, and they're all about money. So, and it's prosperity gospel, right? It's prosperity gospel, and because Abe was connected to him, paid politician, that he saw himself as taking revenge on people that took advantage of his mother. But yeah, as you know, I'm not interested in any of this for fortune. If I'm gonna do that, it'll be like for paintings or making movies or something like that. Right? I don't even really want to do paintings that much because of the fraud um, that is so rampant in fine art. Right? Paintings that cost a lot. Or did you, John? How did that go? So that's what that was about, and why they're gonna watch me. Is he working? As a matter of fact, there's gonna be people within that so obsessed trying to figure out if I'm working or not that it's going to be quite uh, nauseating. I guess I'll just have to make a game out of it. Just to keep my sanity. So, like, and because there's so strict rules, or just like rules are so important in Japan, it's easy for outside influences just to like turn someone's attention into something and just um, pull it into that structure, right? Whereas, obviously, hurting someone or committing a crime against someone is against the rules, obviously, which is why most people don't do it. And although that's changing just because of more influence, there's still that structure. So if it's something that's structured within the rules, it's really easy for someone who doesn't have boundaries anyway to be steered in different directions, which is why someone, or which is why there will be someone obsessed with if I'm working or not. So that's not the idea, John. That's not the right. That's not the way to look at it. Or yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I don't know what to say to that except no. No, 100% it'll be a dude. 100% it'll be a guy with nothing better to do. It won't be a good one, trust me. That's not a good idea, Spidey. But thank you. Michio, do you have any opinion? I mean, these. Let's see. Law, both. Both. Very funny, Jason. We're done with the healings for tonight, guys. I gotta go soon. I feel bad because so many people here, but I really gotta go. Well, they will watch me, Ichio. They're going to watch. I'm gonna get watched. And people are gonna try to figure out if I'm working or not. Once I start getting any attention, it's gonna happen right away. It's just a short film, John. I can be creative. But I used to run a homeless shelter too. Let me see. All right, guys, I gotta go. I will see you later.